Hello, and this is Christy from Cottage Grove Quilt Company. Today we're going to talk about border control. And no, I do not mean the day of politics and the border control that we always hear on the nightly news. I'm talking about border control in your quilts because we do not like to see wavy borders. And believe it or not, putting your borders on where you just sew a piece all the way down and cut it off at the bottom will produce a wavy border. Because what you're doing is all the fullness of the quilt, you're working into that border. Or you're not working into that border. So what you'll need to do is measure your quilt. So when we go to add a border, we take our quilt, we lay it out. This one here, the length is 47.5 in the middle. And then on the sides, it is, and you need to be sure you measure really good and accurate, is about 47. So the left and the right side is 47 times 2 because the quilt's folded in half. So it's 94 inches on the left and right side and 95 inches in the middle. So what you have to do is to take the average. So I know quilters do not like math, but these little handy dandy calculators that we all have laying around the house or on our phones come in handy. So the outer edges is 94 plus 94 because there's two outer edges plus the middle edge, which is 95, is 283 inches. We divide that by 3 to get the average. So when I add another border to this quilt, the length of that border needs to measure 94 3/8 inches. Okay? And the same is true for the top. You know, when you do the top border, it's the same process. You measure top and bottom, you measure middle, and you take the average. Then when you go to sew the border on, what you'll do is you'll find the center of the border and the center of your quilt. You will then pin the two centers together, and then you will pin the two ends together, so the top end and the bottom end. And then you will take it and lay it out and just work in the fullness by using pins. And then sit down at your sewing machine and with a good 1/4 inch seam, sew it on. And what will happen is that quilt's fullness will work in, and all of a sudden you will have a nice, flat, square quilt. And the borders will not be wavy because what happens is all that fullness is now worked in on the quilt. Now, you may ask, well, why does it matter if my borders are wavy? When I go and quilt your quilt on my long arm machine behind me, if I have a wavy border, what that means is I then have to manipulate your quilt by pinning, by starching, by steaming to get it to lay flat. Can it be quilted out? Yes. Is it very difficult? Yes. Does it delay the response time? Yes. Does it also affect the quality of the workmanship? It does. And it can also cause tucks and other issues on your quilt. So take the time, measure your borders, and add them correctly by pinning the centers and then the two outers. If you have questions, please drop us an email. We'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you and have a great day.